Peter Godfrey.
Email on air at 5AA.com.au.
Interactive radio. 1395 Adelaide's 5AA.
17 after 5. Let's jump across the ditch. Selwyn Manning from LiveNews.co.nz in New Zealand joins us. Hi, Selwyn.
Yeah, g'day, Peter.
Getting excited about Christmas across the ditch?
Oh, yes, definitely now. You can't help it, can you?
You can't. No, now it's getting this close. Yeah. Well, we're going to do a bit of a kind of a look backwards this morning on some of the big stories this year. Gee, there's been some big events in New Zealand, and of course, I guess the big one that started the year, February, the earthquake, 6.3 magnitude earthquake, devastating start to the year.
Yeah, that's right. That occurred just after 1 p.m. in the afternoon on February 22nd, Peter, and it struck Christchurch, New Zealand's third largest city. And like you said, it was a 6.3 magnitude earthquake. Now, in the end, 181 people died in that earthquake. So it's absolutely devastating for Christchurch, the surrounding region of Canterbury, and certainly for all of New Zealand. The city was virtually destroyed, Peter. And if you kind of think of, right in the heart of Adelaide, the central business district being absolutely totaled, that's what Christchurch is like.
What was the population of Christchurch?
Christchurch around 350,000 people,
okay.
just over there.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's kind of a sprawling city. It's built on plains that are not too far up on sea level, but it's also on the southern end. It's flanked by some beautiful hills, the Port Hills, and the devastation was right across there in the suburbs. Over the months, Peter, you and I have discussed, the consequences of that earthquake, the liquefaction phenomenon that occurs in those types of quakes where underground it's shaken to bits, and all the water and broken pipes and the broken sewage and all this mess comes up the water table itself and floods up like watching porridge boiling. And this destabilises the terra firma, if you like. So much of Christchurch itself, over these months, has been deemed not to be able to be lived in. The red zone, there's different coloured zones, and the red zone are pretty much written off. And it's still ongoing as to determining exactly who is getting payment for that through insurance or earthquake levies, and who isn't. And that's going to be going on for years. Obviously, the economic cost to New Zealand goes into between $15 and $20 billion. There is the impact on New Zealand's economy from the earthquake.
Are there signs of rebuilding now in the city particularly?
It's a little bit like that Australian-New Zealand kind of spirit where we can make do with something. And if you down in Christchurch, there's a lot of pride that's gone into businesses, for example, setting up shop in containers, making shipping containers into shops. While the tremors and that still occur, they are dropping off now. But these aftershocks go on for months and months and months, and some of them are still pretty scary. Those shipping containers give everybody a sense of stability, and they might bob around a bit, but they're not going to be coming down on top of them. And so there's that kind of thing. There's relocation of people that has been in train for the most part, although there's still people after all this time, especially in the eastern suburbs of Christchurch, that are living in conditions that people just shouldn't live in and are not used to living in. That's with still having to go to the corner where there might be a portaloo to go to the toilet, sharing a shower that may be at a school or something like that, and living basically in tents and caravans. It's still very much makeshift in some areas.
And are people starting to move back? I thought I saw a report that the exodus out of Christchurch has sort of balanced back a bit, and people are starting to move back, are they? Is that the case?
I understand that. From what we are hearing right across New Zealand, that's the case too. As you can imagine, many people, their people's lives are really turned over really with the Christchurch earthquake, and people needs to go to school. People need to earn a living, and so people did seek remedying that kind of problem by going outside of the area. And as Christchurch stabilises and as the work kind of thing kind of comes together, then people are going back, but there's been such a lag in many areas, like, for example, for the tradies to come in and start getting building. There has been that going on, but on a massive scale, that hasn't quite kicked into really striding out forward. And we do expect in 2012, Peter, on this, that New Zealand will be needing, some real good trade skills to help rebuild the place.
Jump forward to August, and I remember you reporting on a severe cold snap hitting both islands, and you were even getting a little bit of snow in Auckland where you are.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It was right in August, around August 15, 16. It was a severe cold snap. I remember talking on radio to you, Peter, and I was almost shivering as I was talking. That was with the heater kind of blasting right next to me. But all of New Zealand was affected by that, but most significantly the South Island was like the big freeze. Much of the North Island was the same. Wellington, the capital city in New Zealand, it was totally snowed in. People were out there taking photographs, and it kind of looked like something out of Alaska. It was just so amazingly brilliant and beautiful, as long as you didn't freeze and get your fingers freezing. But that caused record low temperatures right across in many of the centres. And yes, as you said, snow even fell briefly in Auckland. I remember I was quite confused. I was standing here where I am now, actually near the desk, and I thought, what's going on here? The sky seems to be a strange kind of colour, and I thought, it's hailing. But it wasn't kind of making a noise, so I went outside, and down she was coming in fluffy white snow in Auckland City, the city where I was born into and grew, and had never seen that up here before. So it was quite a thing.
And it'd be nice to have it now as a bit of a winter wonderland as they head towards Christmas.
Yeah, that would be magic to experience at least once in a lifetime.
It would indeed. Now, another big event that I guess distracted everyone's attention for a little while away from the election that was looming was the Rugby World Cup, and what a great competition that was.
Yeah, it was. So that went from through September and into October, and the Australian team was over here, and it was having its problems, but it came out in the end having the respect of most of the teams, certainly in that tournament. And the New Zealand All Blacks, they managed to navigate their way through into the final, and we always knew that should we face a country like Australia or France or South Africa in the final, that it was going to be a difficult game, and it certainly was a difficult game battling the New Zealand All Blacks against France. And France, they really earned that great respect from Kiwis over here for battling that final. It could have gone either way, and right up to the last minute, Peter, it was 1 point in it, and if all it needed was a penalty goal or something like that, and the All Blacks would have lost the World Cup. It was that close, and we'd tried that many times. The only other time New Zealand had won the Rugby World Cup was way back in 1987, so it was a long time ago. We got there in the end.
Nice, almost a nice bookend with starting with tragedy but triumph at the end of the year for Kiwis with the World Cup win, and then of course on to your election in November 26th, the Nationals getting up as was very well expected to win a second term in office.
Yes, they did, and that election that took place on November 22nd, and the Nationals, under the MMP and kind of structure we have here for electing parties and politicians, it really did get a big slice of the pie. It got around 47, 48, just shy of 48% of the popular vote, Peter, and that's certainly one of the biggest percentages won by any party going right back, for decades. And so the Nationals, they had their first speech in the House yesterday. It was formally, everyone was sworn in, and they were very, very cocky in there. And the new Labour leader, David Shearer, he did this very impressive speech, actually, because there was a big question mark over whether or not he was going to have the gravitas to actually deliver such a speech, but he certainly did. And it was one of, a vision and where New Zealand needs to go, and, the kind of Kiwi way was all in there, and very strong on independent kind of policies in the foreign policy areas, and all of this. And John Key came in. He kind of addressed what they were going to do, mostly domestic was on his agenda there, and then he was just stuck into the Labour Party. And it was almost like David Slacker, he's a commentator here, he made some quip about David Shearer kind of gave a speech of hope, and John Key gave a speech like Bob Hope. So, so it kind of summed it up.
Nice stuff. All right, and just finally, now you've heard a bit of a rumour about a bit of a flight heading down towards the South Pacific and Australasia. What can you tell us?
Yeah, I think there's a man that we all know, Santa Claus, and he's on his way down to the South Pacific and Australasia. We know that's for a fact, and the rumour has it that he's going to pop into New Zealand first before he heads over to your families over in Australia.
All right.
Reason being is we're on a different time zone, so it's going to be a good night on Christmas Eve, and it's only a couple away, isn't it?
Indeed. Well, don't leave too many bottles of beer out for Santa to drink at the houses, because he might get lost on the way over here.
He might get a bit of a wobble and head off to South Africa or somewhere. So we can't have that.
No, we can't indeed. Well, Selwyn, many thanks for your contribution right through the year. It's been great chatting with you, and last one for the year. So I hope you and your family have a wonderful Christmas and New Year. We'll talk to you again in 2012.
Absolutely, and all the same to you, Peter, and you and yours, and to your wonderful listeners. Be kind to each other and have a great Christmas.
There's a nice sentiment. Be kind to each other. Thanks, Selwyn. Cheers.
Okay, bye-bye.
Selwyn Manning, you can find out more from Selwyn. Head to the website LiveNews.co.nz. It's 28.5 minutes past 5, and Stone's got a full update of news, sport and weather coming up in just a moment's time. And more of your calls, 8223 0000.